Hello. Welcome to the Soul Elevation Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. I wanted to talk about how there's a saying you've probably come across that is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so I want to talk about how our perspective makes such a difference in how we experience life. Because it's easy to think that there is one reality going on and we're just a part of reality. But the truth is, there are billions of realities happening on this planet. Our realities are based on our perspective and they're based on our experience. So my reality is different than your reality. We have shared experiences. We have shared a shared reality. There's kind of a backdrop that is consistent for us in a lot of ways or overlaps, like a Venn diagram of my life, my reality and your reality have overlapping parts where we have the same experience, the same reality, because we're sharing the same time and space here on this planet. But my version of reality is going to be different from yours because I see different things. I know different things. I have different experience, different background, different upbringing than you do. And it's not better or worse. It's just how it works. I can't be doing everything you're doing because I'm having my life and you're having your life and that's how it's supposed to be. So if we think about the fact that we have different realities, then your reality is very dependent upon you. You are shaping your reality. Your perspective is shaping your reality. So as you move through your life, you have all the thoughts and the feelings and the expectations that are coloring your view of your life. And so when you want to have a different experience, then you become aware of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions of your experience, and you can make different choices about how you feel about something, what you think about something. And I know that's not always easy. It takes practice, it takes diligence, it takes even catching the thoughts, catching when you're being pulled down into feelings that aren't helping you. But if you can become more of the witness, more of the observer, being able to step back and witness what's happening and notice how you're feeling about what's happening, that allows you to change that perspective. So let me give you an example. My daughter right now is homesick. There's a bug going around. It's going around everywhere, probably more than one bug. But a lot of people are under the weather right now. And we can look at that and see only obstacles and challenges with that. And I know it's no fun to be sick, and I wish she wasn't sick. But it is what it is. But I heard somebody recently talking about, I was actually listening to this talk on viruses, and it was somebody's perspective. They had come to the conclusion that viruses aren't actually a thing, that we don't actually catch viruses. And there was really compelling evidence in terms of how they test for viruses and so forth. And I'm no expert in this. It was kind of my first exposure to it. But I was interested in what they were saying. But what they said that is relevant to this conversation, because he then questioned, like, well, you might be thinking, how can people in the same house have the same symptoms at the same time. Like it does kind of lend that experience of one person is sick, you're around that person, and then you become sick with the same symptoms. That does kind of beg that you caught something from them, right? So he postulated, is that the right word? He postulated. Um, he proposed. I know that I can be confident with that word. He proposed that maybe because things are happening in the quantum, I can't remember if this is how he put it, but this is how I internalized it. Because things are happening in the quantum and so much is happening between us subconsciously, that our bodies, our parts of ourselves are energetically communicating with each other when we are in the same space. And it could be that somebody is going through, their body is naturally going through a cleansing and a purging. And if we think about an illness that we're going through as a cleanse, a purge, a reconfiguration, even an upgrade. I've heard Dr. Zach Bush talk about going through illness, that these are actually upgrades. And I love thinking about them in that way of like, there's just a lot, our body is undergoing a lot of change all at once. And it's bringing in antibodies. It's going through a process that's helping it to be healthier ultimately, but it's got to undergo these changes really fast and they have these side effects. I mean, what an amazing way to think about how we are going through, like what's going on with an illness. So back to the contagion piece and how it might just be our bodies getting these signals of like, oh, this body that I'm interacting with, they're going through a cleansing and purging, and then our bodies, the intelligence of our bodies say, wait, actually that's a good idea. We should do that. Yeah, it's time for us to go through a cleansing and a purging. And if we think about what's happening behind the scenes with all these symptoms, it's a lot of rapid things are happening all at once. It causes discomfort, but it's this just a lot of systems being flushed through, and there's a repair process that's happening with that ultimately is making us stronger. Like once we have been through illnesses, then we get those antibodies that help us to be stronger. So and then going back to what Dr. Zach Bush, how he framed it I've heard him talk about different diseases as like initiations. And that's also fascinating because in a lot of indigenous cultures, not even indigenous, just in a lot of cultures, there are rites of passage and there are initiations that happen at different ages. And that's where, as a society, people hit certain ages and then they undergo something strenuous. They undergo a huge challenge and a difficult task. And we kind of, in rites of passage, when they're part of the culture and society, that's a human, we're what's the word I'm looking for? We're like creating those conditions inorganically, right? It's like, oh, you're 13. So here's the rite of passage. You've got to go off into the wilderness on your own and come back with a carcass, or whatever it might be. But it's a huge challenge. It's a mental and physical dangerous challenge that we manufacture, that the society manufactures, that this, in the case of like a coming of age, they have to prove themselves not only to the society but to themselves. They've got to go through this initiation portal, which is hard and uncomfortable and very challenging. But when they get to the other side, they have all these skills, they have all the and confidence and so forth. So going back to changing our perception, that perception has made it easier for me as my daughter's going through her illness, where I am, of course I want to help her get over this bug or whatever. I want her to get over it as quickly as possible. I am, giving her anything I can think of that's going to help her. I'm praying for her. I'm, sending her healing energy. And it also helps me to have a different perspective of this is bad. We've got to suppress it all. Nothing good's coming out of this. Let's think about all the things she's missing. She's missing school. She's missing a babysitting opportunity. She's not going to be able to do anything this weekend. She's just laying around. I could very easily be having the lens of my focus on all of that and worrying and thinking worst case scenarios. What if, what if, what if? But it really helps me to be thinking, okay, her body is going through a cleansing process right now. She is getting upgrades. She's getting stronger through this. And I can pray for her. And she will be, on the other side of this, she's going to be stronger and have more armor in terms of antibodies and so forth. And this is an opportunity for her to rest, and she needs more rest, and she needs this downtime. It's good for her. So changing the way that I look at that helps me to have a more that ultimately that leads to a better life experience for me, because I benefit from, I mean, it's more enjoyable to go through life seeing the other side of the coin than, oh, this is bad because of all these things. Everything has two sides of the coin. So we can change the way we look at things and see the benefits, the opportunities that are showing up in our challenges, and that can really assist us as we move through our life. So I wish you every blessing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a live stream coming up soon with Jessie, who's going to be channeling Vagrian. I'll put the link in the notes for that. I hope you'll join us. She is an amazing channel, Jessie Herman, and she channels this high frequency, high vibe collective called Vagrian. You don't want to miss it. You'll have a chance to ask your own questions during the channeling. This is going to be on Tuesday. I'm going to have to look at the calendar. Just bear with me a second. Tuesday, the 18th of February at 9 a.m. So I do hope that you'll join us. You need to register so you can join us. You can ask your own questions. But I would love to see you there. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. Many, many blessings. Thank you so much.